Imagine if your digital marketing agency could create a perfectly branded Instagram ad in seconds with no Photoshop, no waiting on a designer, just instant ready to post content. Let's get started. In this video, I'll show you how I built this ad image generator tool using OttoKit with Fluent Forms and BannerBear. With it, I can fill out a simple form, pick dog or cat, select the Instagram type, and instantly get a social-ready ad image I can post to Instagram or send to a client. And this is just 2 templates inside one BannerBear project. If you're running multiple campaigns or handling multiple clients, you could have a whole suite of templates ready to generate images for Instagram posts, stories, Facebook, or even LinkedIn. Let me show you how I put it all together. So to start off this magical process here, I'm going to be in BannerBear.com. I'll leave a link in the description for you to just easily click, but it's basically BannerBear.com. And it'll start you off in the dashboard once you create a free account. Free account gets you 30 API credits. Trust me, they're going to go quick. You can see down here, I'm at 29 of 30 in all of my testing. So, and if you want to upgrade, they do have $49 a month for the next upgrade, and you get 1,000 image and video API credits. So if you're doing this as an agency, you can probably certainly make your money back by offering this as a service. So let me just go back here. So here's your dashboard. It gives you integration with the API, which is what we're going to be using. You can use Zapier over here as another option, and they have some other options here. If we go over to the projects area, I'll click here for our projects. It starts you off with your very first project, and they do start you off with a welcome template as your project. Everything in BannerBear works on templates. And they do have a very extensive template library. And you could search by category here, lots of categories to choose from. You could do by type, so you can do announcements, certificate, charts they can do, podcast cover, things like that. And then they have a logs tab where you can track all the images that have been generated. But going back to the projects tab, again, first project is where they start you off with. You can see I've added in additional templates. One is for our Instagram post, and the other is for our Instagram story. So if we take a look at let's take a look at our Instagram post template. I created all of these in Canva. I didn't use a template from the template library in BannerBear. It looks very complicated here, but let's take a look at inside the template. So we'll click on Edit Template here. And you can see here I have several layers. So I downloaded each of these components from Canva separately so I could introduce them as separate layers inside this template. So let's start at the base. So our base is this yellow with the cloud thinking idea type of thing, traditional, food, your blank deserves the best, shop now. All of that is part of the base. And then we have pet. And that is where it's going to get introduced dynamically based on what they select, either cat or dog. So that'll come in here. So if I just type in cat, you'll see it comes in like that. That's why I'm leaving it blank. So let's go back to pet. And then we have pet 2, and that's where the second word comes in, cat or dog, where it says your blank deserves the best. And then we have cat or dog. These are images. And again, these will be dynamically shown in the image that's created based on what they select from our form. So if it's a cat or a dog, it will show or hide one or the other. And so that's why it looks like they're on top of each other right now. But when you generate the image, one or the other will be shown along with the appropriate word cat or dog. So that's pretty simple on how I built this template. We'll just click on Save here and click on Exit. From here, we're going to get going into the API calls in OttoKit. So once you've got your project done and your template set and your components set and all the naming and everything that you need to do, if you go into API console down here, they give you a starter way of doing things to test things out. They give you the template ID, which is where I got it from, and they give you how to call the JSON with these. You'll see here it has a way of doing things for modifications. It has the name of the layer and then what you can change on it. So it knows that it's text, so it can change those. You can also do this for images, obviously, and we'll see that in just a couple minutes. So if you click on API reference, it'll take you over here and you can get started with your APIs and things like that. But what we need also is at the very top here where it says settings and API key. If we click on that, it'll give you your project API keys, what we need. And we do not need the project webhook key. So we'll need to capture that when we need to make our API call in AutoKit. And if we look at the Instagram story option, I could have done a lot better here designing this, but I wanted to show you how it all works. So I didn't spend a lot of time, but it's the same setup with the overlays, and then based on cat or dog, the appropriate image shows and the appropriate word show. And again, if we go over to the API console here, it'll bring you down here, and here's where you get your template ID. And again, you can play around this. You can even send an API request here. If you click on sample data, you can put in the text here and then click on send API request, and it will auto-generate the image for you. But again, we're using images as well. So that's a little bit about BannerBear. We'll be coming back to this shortly because we need to do another AutoKit workflow for a webhook. So let's go over to the workflows here, and I'll show you how I set this all up. So in our first workflow, we have Fluent Form to BannerBear template. So here is our Fluent Form, and I'm using Fluent Form because I can grab those values for those two templates and the value of cat or dog based on what they selected. Then I have a branch. So the yes branch follows the cat path and the no branch follows the dog path. And if we click on our branch condition here, if the dropdown that they've selected is cat is equal to cat, then we move on to the top branch. So that's our yes. So let's get into our API request. So our method is post. And if you go into the API references, you can get the endpoint URLs to make the call. And we're also doing raw JSON here. Our authentication is bearer token with our bearer token ID, which is our project ID API key. And so you want to have bearer token as your authentication. And then we have additional headers here for content type, application JSON, and then we add in our JSON. So it's exactly what you saw in here to get started. So I go into, let's say, story here, and I click on API console. So it's the same amount, the same kind of data they've given us here to get us started, but we're adding in all of this dynamically. In our second dropdown, where they're selecting story or post, we're capturing that value from that form input. So that's where we're getting the template ID. And then we are capturing, remember those layer names. So we're saying pet, and the pet text is what they selected, cat or dog, in our form. So we're capturing that dynamically. And then we're capturing the name cat or dog. That's the name of our layer in our template. So we're capturing that to give it a name. And then we're adding in whether it's cat or dog dynamically again for our call to the image. Now the images have to be full URLs, so keep that in mind. So I uploaded this image to BannerBear, and then if I go into my template, if I click on edit template here, click on the image, I just opened up the image in a new tab, and I just captured this image here to use as the full URL. So you can use WordPress URLs, URLs hosted elsewhere, but they have to be full URLs. Just keep that in mind. So we've got that going on there. And then since we're on the cat path, we're going to hide the dog image that's being shown. So hide is equal to true here. And then our pet name 2. So this is our name of our text. It's pet 2. And again, we're dynamically adding in the text into our template based on what they selected, dog or cat. Okay, so if we click continue here, it's going to give you a pending status, which is important when we get into the second workflow, the webhook elements. But it captures the modifications, it captures the modification URLs, and it knows the template and the width and all that good stuff. So it's capturing all that data. We'll click save here. We won't click test action because that'll use up my last available API call. And then in Google Sheets, we need to capture some pieces of this. So if we go over to the Google Sheets here, you're going to capture the name, the email, the pet type, the Instagram template ID. So the Instagram type ID, template ID that was used, and the BannerBear image ID that was generated. And then we're going to put it back. We're going to add in the image URL that's been generated when we get to our second workflow. So we're adding those components here. So if I just click on the information here on the configuration tab, we're using our pet ad generator form data. Sheet 1, we're capturing the name, email address, the pet type, and here is the important piece for our second workflow, and that is the BannerBear image ID that is auto-generated. So if we go back to our API request and click on test, you'll see that it has a ID that it comes along with the image, and that's important. And we're capturing that in a Google Sheet. The second component to this, and the one I struggled with a lot, was how do I get the image back to the person who created it? Now, I thought I could just add an email here, but sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. I added in delays, even the delays didn't help. So I was trying to figure out why the image wasn't coming through. And I thought because it had to do with the status wasn't completed. What BannerBear provides is a webhook. And the webhook will listen when the image is completed. So on our second workflow here, we are listening for when the image has been generated. So if we click on the webhook here, it just gives us a webhook URL, which we are using in our project. So let me go take a look. Let me go show you what that looks like. If we go back into our settings and API key, and if we click on advanced here, and then if we scroll down here, you'll see an added option to do a registered webhook, which is where we've added in our webhook. So I put in the webhook that's coming along from OttoKit. So I'm adding that webhook to the BannerBear project so it can listen for when an image is completed. So if we click here, we click on test, we can see here that it says status is completed, and it generated all of these images, which is really nice. And it also gave us back the template ID. The important part is it also gave us back the ID of the image, which is important, right? So we've already captured that in our Google Sheet. Now we have to look it up and then update our row with now our generated image URL. So if we click on our next step here, we're looking up the image ID from our column that matches the one that was just generated and we just got from our webhook. So we click continue there, we can click save. So it's saying, okay, I found this information. I found this person using this image ID, and so it is true. So we'll click save there. So since it's going to be true, we'll click inside our next step, and that is to update the row number, which we've obtained from the first step. So here's our row number. So we're just finding the row number of that person that generated that image. And then we'll scroll down here and we'll just add in the URL to the image that was generated. Click continue here. And so it's just doing what it's supposed to be doing there, and click save. And then now that we have our image generated, we can then send the image off to the user who requested it, which will then lead us to something like this, where they can then click on download your image. And that's how you can take a simple form and turn it into an instant branded social media ad ready to share in just seconds. If you'd like to grab the OttoKit workflows I used in this video, click the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'd love to hear in the comments, what type of image would you automate first for your business or your clients? I'll see you in the next video.